All right, our next one that we're going to be completing is the turn and top stitch seam allowance. So I'm going to put 2 layers of fabric together, and I'm going to sew my 5/8 inch seam allowance. I'm going to start near the edge, and I will start with the back stitch, and I will come all the way forward. Keep the cut edges matching. So to the end and back stitch. You don't need very many back stitches. All you're doing is keeping the seam from coming out. And I'm going to clip it off. All right, that's step number 1. Now, for the next step, it would be easiest if you opened it up and finger press the seam open. So don't press it with the iron yet. Just get it gently open. I want these raw edges to disappear. I want them to disappear underneath the seam allowance. So I'm going to fold it back so that when it's laying out flat, there's no raw edge along here. And I'm going to scoot everything out of the way, and I'm going to sew close to the edge. Now, in all honesty, this would be easier if I did it from this side. So I'm going to fold the seam allowance up towards me. And I'm going to sew close to the edge. You can backstitch this or not. So when you fold it back, don't fold it all the way to the stitched seam. You're just sewing the seam allowance and the folded back section of the seam allowance. Don't sew it to the right side. So now, when it's laid flat, you can see here that it's nice and clean finished along this edge, and the row of stitching is close to the folded edge. If you go close to this raw edge, the seam is going to pull out. I'm going to repeat for the other side. I'm going to fold the seam allowance back towards me. I'm going to plant the needle in close to the fold, and I'm going to sew close to the fold. Make sure you keep all the other layers of fabric out from under the presser foot. And then I can pull it out and clip it off. So now, when the seam allowance is pressed, which is the next step, you have this nice, beautiful, clean finished edge on both sides. And with matching thread, you won't even notice this.